I really like the visual quality in Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch 2, especially in docked mode on my LG G4. This game looks, considering it's just a handheld device, pretty good. But in regards of performance, it's a complete different story. Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. As always, before we start, please do me a very quick favor. Please like, share, and if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Thank you very much. In this video, I'm purely focusing on Cyberpunk 2077 when playing in docked mode. I will do most likely a separate video about the portable version at a later stage. And if you have a 120Hz screen, then you can play this game in two different graphical modes. You have the quality mode, which is targeting 30 FPS, and then you have the so-called performance mode, which is targeting 40 FPS. So let's start with a very quick visual comparison between the quality mode and the performance mode on the Switch 2 in docked mode. And as you can hopefully see, even on YouTube with the lower compression, but the 30 FPS quality mode offers a very slightly higher resolution compared to the 40 FPS performance mode. Also, I found the 30 FPS quality mode in docked mode offers slightly less aliasing and a very tiny bit better shadows, but it's very hard to see this actually. You need to have a side-by-side comparison like that. And again, hopefully YouTube is showing you the differences, because sometimes it's actually very hard to spot them. I also compared Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch 2 with the Xbox Series X version, and what you can see here is the quality mode on both consoles. Obviously, the Xbox Series X version offers a much higher resolution. Also, keep in mind, the Xbox Series X version in the quality mode offers ray tracing shadows. Overall, and without a doubt, the Xbox Series X version looks significantly better in the 30 FPS quality mode compared to the Switch 2 version, but we need to be fair here. We're talking about a handheld device with a much lower performance actually, or power. So in my opinion, the visual quality on the Switch 2 is, considering, when we consider it's just a handheld device, pretty good. But who wants to play in 30 FPS when we also can play in up to 40 FPS on the Switch 2? And I compared the performance mode on the Switch 2 with the performance mode on the Xbox Series X. That means 40 FPS on the Switch 2 versus 60 FPS on the Xbox Series X. And also here you can see the Xbox Series X version has not just 20 FPS more, and by the way, stable 20 FPS more. We have also a slightly higher resolution, better shadows, and less aliasing. And yes, I get it. Comparing Cyberpunk 2077 on the Xbox Series X with the Switch 2 version is not very fair, because we're talking about a huge difference actually when we're talking about power performance on both systems. But I like to remind you again, we're just talking about a very small handheld device, and for this I actually really think the Switch 2 is doing a great job. In regards of performance, unfortunately, and I mentioned this already in the beginning of my video, that's a complete different story. So let's start with the 30 FPS mode here on the Switch 2, and I have no FPS comparison with the Xbox Series X because we know already through a lot of tests that the Xbox Series X version and also the PlayStation 5 version are very, very stable when it comes to frame rate. Here, on the other hand, the Switch 2 version is actually suffering, especially in very hectic moments, from a lot of frame drops, even in the 30 FPS mode. And the worst case scenario I have found so far was 20 FPS when almost the whole city was actually aiming and firing at me. But what about the 40 FPS mode? And again, this mode requires a 120 Hz screen. But in regards of performance, it's not a stable experience. Yes, you will experience 40 FPS and then it looks actually pretty good. But most of the time, the frame rate is below 40 FPS. Especially when it comes to very fast shootouts, when it comes to driving, when it comes to a lot of, I would say, trouble on the screen, then you have below 40 FPS. The worst part is that we don't have any VRR in docking mode. And yes, we would need to have VRR, verbal refresh rate, in combination with LFC, low frame rate compensation in place to avoid stuttering below 40 FPS. That's unfortunately not possible because the Switch 2 dock is not able actually to provide any VRR solution at this very moment. So I hope that at some point, I just hope that there will be some sort of update to actually have VRR in place, because right now, every frame drop on a very big screen like the LG G4 in the back here is very noticeable. Okay, my friends, what is now my summary in regards to Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch 2? And yeah, it's a little bit of a mixed feelings, honestly, because in regards of the visual quality, I really like what I'm seeing on a small handheld device. But on the other hand, the performance is just not, it's not a nice experience, honestly. I rather play in 60 FPS on a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. And therefore, my recommendation would actually be, if you're not an absolute hardcore Cyberpunk 2077 fan, or you don't have any other consoles apart from the Switch 2, I would not recommend to buy this version for the Switch 2 because it just doesn't make sense. You're just getting the worst version out of all of them, okay, in regards of performance. So I just hope that at some point we will see some sort of VRR, verbal refresh capabilities on the Switch 2. I'm not quite sure if this is possible, but this would be needed to have a better experience, because I'm quite sure this will be not the last game actually where we see frame drops below 40 FPS. And again, without VRR, without LFC in place, it will be never a great experience. Thank you very much for watching me. I see you guys next time. Bye.